And so, as we begin to understand the silent decline of circulation in old age, the creeping cold in the limbs, the restless sleep, the heart working harder each night, it becomes clear that growing older doesn't mean surrendering to weakness. Hidden within your own body lies a solution so gentle, so accessible, that it feels almost miraculous in its simplicity. Each night, as the world quiets and you prepare to rest, there is one small act you can do, a sacred gesture that may change everything: rubbing the kneeling pass point, located on the inner wrist. This powerful pressure point has been revered for centuries as a gateway to vitality, calm, and deep inner healing. In this video, we'll uncover the ancient wisdom and modern science behind this forgotten ritual and why it may just be the most important habit you add to your nightly routine. Stay with us until the end, and if you find even a whisper of truth or comfort in what you hear, don't forget to leave a comment, share your experience, and subscribe so more people like you can rediscover the healing that lives in their own two hands. Of all the subtle yet powerful healing techniques hidden within the wisdom of ancient Eastern medicine, few are as overlooked yet profoundly effective as the simple act of rubbing a single point on your body before bedtime, the kneeling pass point, also known as Nei Guan in traditional Chinese medicine. For elderly individuals who have endured decades of life's battles through stress, sickness, and the inevitable slowing down of circulation with age, this little-known practice might just be the missing key to unlocking renewed vitality, improved heart health, and deeper, more restful sleep. As we grow older, our circulatory system becomes like an old river bidons, strong and forceful, now narrowing, slowing, sometimes even stagnating. The feet and hands grow cold. The chest tightens at night. The heart works harder just to maintain what once flowed effortlessly. But what if there was a way non-invasive, completely natural, and easily practiced at home to support your heart, revive your blood flow, and reclaim a sense of lightness in your body again? That's the quiet power of the kneeling pass point. Located about 3 finger widths below the wrist, nestled gently between the 2 tendons on the inner forearm, the kneeling pass point has been known for thousands of years as a gateway to calming the heart, clearing the chest, and balancing internal energy. In ancient healing texts, it's referred to as the gateway to inner peace. But today, modern science is beginning to uncover just how important this pressure point truly is for the elderly. Multiple clinical studies have confirmed that stimulation of the Nei Guan point can help regulate heart rhythm, lower blood pressure, and improve microcirculation, especially in aging adults whose arteries may be less elastic and whose capillaries may be partially blocked. For seniors suffering from palpitations, angina, or poor peripheral circulation, those cold hands and feet that never seem to warm up, rubbing this point before sleep can help trigger an incredible shift in how the body distributes blood. But this isn't just about a trick of anatomy or a curious acupuncture point. No, this is about survival. Every night, thousands of elderly people go to bed unaware that their blood flow is slowing to a crawl. They wake up dizzy, with numb fingers, or in extreme cases, not at all. Silent strokes, mini heart attacks, and dangerously low nighttime blood pressure are far more common than most realize. But rubbing the kneeling pass point helps remind the cardiovascular system to stay alert and balanced. It tells the heart, "You are not alone. I am still here. I am caring for you." And this simple nightly ritual, taking no more than 3 to 5 minutes, has helped many older adults feel warmer at night, breathe easier, and even report fewer nightmares or episodes of waking in panic. The experience of one 76-year-old woman, Mrs. Lan, from Da Nang, Vietnam, is a testament to this. After decades of living with chronic chest tightness and a constant fear of nighttime heart episodes, she was introduced to this technique by her neighbor, a retired traditional medicine doctor. Skeptical at first, she began gently rubbing her Nei Guan point every night before sleep. Within a week, she noticed her chest no longer felt heavy when lying down. Her fingers, once purple and cold at midnight, now held a healthy pink tone by morning. Over the next month, She stopped needing her nighttime sedatives and found her sleep deepening naturally. "It was as if my blood finally remembered how to move again," she said. And her story is not rare. You see, when the kneeling pass point is massaged with intention gently, slowly, in small circular motions, it does more than affect blood flow. It calms the sympathetic nervous system, reduces the release of stress hormones, and helps transition the body from a fight or flight state into the deeply restorative rest and digest mode. For older adults whose bodies are often stuck in a cycle of chronic tension, worry, or fatigue, this transition is nothing short of essential. When the body is relaxed, blood moves more freely. And when blood moves, life returns to the limbs, to the brain, to the organs. That's why this tiny action done in the quiet of your room, just before pulling up the blanket, can feel like unlocking a hidden reservoir of life energy. It's worth noting, too, that in traditional Chinese medicine, this point is part of the pericardium meridian, which surrounds and protects the heart. Think of it as a natural armor, a guardian of emotional and physical well-being. As people age, not only do their bodies weaken, but their hearts, both physically and emotionally, carry the burdens of a lifetime. Disappointments, betrayals, losses, all these live in the chest. That tightness you feel at night isn't just physical, it's also emotional. By gently stimulating the kneeling pass point, we're also symbolically allowing ourselves to let go of the emotional weights we've carried far too long. We're giving the heart a signal: it is safe to rest now. Seniors who've adopted this nightly ritual often report a sense of peace they haven't felt in years. Their sleep becomes deeper. Their mornings feel lighter. They no longer need to rely as heavily on blood pressure medication or circulation pills. Of course, no one is saying this replaces your doctor's advice, but isn't it miraculous to know that your own hands might carry part of the healing your heart has longed for? As we age, we often feel powerless against illness, against time, against the changes in our body. But something as simple as massaging a small point on your wrist each night proves that you are not helpless, that you still have influence over your health, over your energy, over your life. Imagine a world where every elderly person, instead of lying in bed worrying about their heart or their blood pressure, closes their eyes with confidence, knowing that tonight their blood will flow like a gentle river again. Imagine if that world could begin with you tonight just by rubbing the kneeling pass point. While the circulation-boosting effects of the kneeling pass point are indeed remarkable, what surprises most elderly individuals who begin this practice is the profound impact it has on something they never thought a simple wrist rub could touch their sleep. For many, sleep becomes an elusive, fragile thing with age. Night after night, they toss and turn, unable to sink into deep rest. The room is silent, yet their thoughts scream. The bed is soft, but their back aches. The body is tired, but the brain won't stop racing. And even if sleep comes, it often breaks in the dark hours, 2 a.m., 3:30 a.m., 4:15 a.m., and does not return. This broken sleep pattern is not just a nuisance, it's a silent thief, stealing memory, draining vitality, and weakening the immune system. But what if something as unassuming as a thumb and forefinger could interrupt this vicious cycle? That's what scientists and traditional healers alike are beginning to understand. The kneeling pass point doesn't just help the blood flow more freely, it acts as a gateway to serenity. It calms the heart, not just the physical pump, but the emotional center. Elderly individuals who have struggled for years with anxiety-driven insomnia or night terrors have found that nightly activation of this point provides a soothing, sedative-like effect, without pills, without side effects, and without dependency. When you rub this point slowly, in a circular motion, your brain receives the message that it is safe to let go, that it no longer has to remain on alert, that it no longer needs to protect you from dangers long past. You see, poor sleep in old age isn't always about melatonin or blue light. More often, it's about stored tension, about the emotional scars of a long life not yet given permission to heal. The elderly carry in their bones the burden of worries, financial fears, regrets, children who have drifted away, spouses who have passed on. Many never get a chance to unburden. They simply grow quiet and endure. But the body remembers. The heart races at night, not because of illness, but because it doesn't know how to rest anymore. That's where the kneeling past point becomes more than a physical solution. It becomes a ritual of release. One gentleman in Ho Chi Minh City, a retired bus driver in his early 80s, had not slept a full night in over a decade. He tried everything: sleeping pills, herbal teas, even radio noise to drown out the thoughts. Nothing worked. His daughter introduced him to the idea of nightly wrist massage, especially on the kneeling past point, but he laughed. A finger rub can't fix a decade of bad sleep, he told her. Yet, she insisted. That night, after 3 minutes of gentle circular massage with warm oil, he fell asleep faster. He woke up once, but not in panic, only to adjust his blanket. By the third night, he slept 7 uninterrupted hours. I felt like I traveled back in time, he said. My body remembered peace. And that word remembered is important, because sleep, like any rhythm of the body, can be forgotten under stress, but it can also be remembered, reawakened. The kneeling past point serves as a physical memory trigger, gently nudging the nervous system to restore its natural pattern. It reduces the level of circulating cortisol, the stress hormone, while increasing serotonin and melatonin production. This creates not just physical relaxation, but an emotional exhale. It's why many seniors report not just better sleep, but more vivid dreams, more refreshing mornings, and even a better mood throughout the day. This point, nestled innocently on the inside of your wrist, is connected to the heart meridian, and thus also to the mind and emotions. Traditional medicine has always known what modern science is just confirming. The heart and mind are not separate. When the heart is calm, the mind follows. When the mind is quiet, the heart beats gently. And in that harmony, sleep becomes possible again. Perhaps most touching are the reports from elderly couples who have turned this simple act into a shared bedtime ritual. Instead of silently lying in bed with the weight of the day still on their chests, they now take turns rubbing each other's kneeling past point. A few minutes of gentle touch, a few deep breaths together, and suddenly the room feels safer, warmer. These couples speak of deeper connection, less irritability, and a surprising sense of renewal, not just physically, but emotionally. It's like holding hands with life again, said one 70-year-old woman who had struggled with insomnia since menopause. Even more remarkable is that this nightly practice requires no cost, no appointment, no prescription, just your hands and your willingness to care for yourself. In a world where elderly people are often made to feel invisible or burdensome, this small act becomes an assertion of self-worth. A way of saying, I matter, my sleep matters, my peace matters. That's the kind of message the body listens to. That's the kind of message that heals. There is something profoundly spiritual about this too. In Eastern tradition, bedtime is not just the end of a diet, it is a return to source, a reunion with silence. What better way to prepare for that sacred return than to honor the body with presence, with warmth, with conscious care? Each night, when you rub the kneeling past point, you are not merely pressing skin, you are pressing pause on your worries. You are telling your nervous system, I forgive, I surrender, I rest. And that is when true healing begins. Imagine a nation of elderly individuals who no longer dread the night. Imagine millions of grandmothers and grandfathers waking up not groggy, but refreshed, not confused, but clear-headed, not aching, but energized. This vision is not only possible, it's already happening for those who have committed to this nightly ritual. And so, as the clock ticks toward evening and you prepare your body for sleep, ask yourself, have you given your heart the peace it needs? Have you told your body it is loved? Have you honored the sacred point that connects blood to breath, thought to emotion, heart to rest? If not, let tonight be the night. Find your kneeling past point. Rub it gently, like you would comfort a child. Close your eyes and feel how your body, after all these years, still knows the way home. And yet, As comforting as better sleep and emotional peace may sound, there is a darker, more urgent reason why every elderly person should take the practice of rubbing the kneeling pass point seriously. It may help save your life. Behind the calming effect and restored sleep lies something even more powerful: the ability to prevent some of the most dangerous and silent killers that prey on aging bodies: hypertension, stroke, heart disease, and vascular collapse. These threats do not knock on the door loudly. They slip in quietly during the hours when the body is most vulnerable, especially during the night, when blood flow slows, heart rate drops unpredictably, and the nervous system is left unguarded. Let's be clear. The leading cause of sudden death among the elderly isn't falling or even infection. It's the silent stroke, the midnight heart failure, the vascular spasm that strikes without warning and without mercy. But what's even more tragic is that in so many cases, the warning signs were their: cold limbs, restless sleep, sudden nighttime anxiety, a racing heart, poor circulation, high blood pressure readings that spike only in the evening. And so many seniors ignore them, believing it's just part of getting old. It isn't. It's a call for help. A call that can be answered in part astonishingly through your fingertips. When you stimulate the kneeling pass point consistently, you activate more than just a nerve. You awaken the pericardium meridian, the body's ancient protective channel around the heart. Traditional Chinese medicine sees this meridian as a shield, not just energetic but physiological. It controls the rhythmic balance between your heart and blood vessels. It manages the flow of blood through the arteries and veins. And in old age, when vessels are stiffened and the heart is forced to beat harder to push blood through narrow passageways, this meridian becomes your ally in survival. It softens the resistance. It opens the flow. And perhaps most importantly, it lowers the internal pressure, quietly killing so many elderly people. Scientific research backs this up. Studies from prominent universities in both China and the West show that massaging the kneeling pass point has a measurable impact on systolic and diastolic blood pressure, particularly in older adults. It helps dilate blood vessels, slow irregular heartbeats, and reduce the risk of plaque rupture. Doctors now recognize that a sudden spike in blood pressure during the night or early morning, often triggered by poor sleep, anxiety, or blood stagnation, can lead to microbleeds in the brain or full-blown strokes. But a few minutes of pressure on this point before bed may reduce this risk by supporting a smoother, more even cardiovascular rhythm throughout the most dangerous hours of the night. Let's return to the story of Mr. Bao, an 83-year-old retired teacher from Hue, Vietnam. After surviving a mild stroke at 79, he lived in constant fear of a second, possibly fatal one. His doctors prescribed medication, but he found the side effects: dizziness, fatigue, loss of appetite difficult to bear. A local acupuncturist recommended he begin massaging his kneeling pass point every night before bed. With nothing to lose, he started. 3 minutes on each wrist. Firm, gentle circles. Within weeks, his blood pressure began to stabilize. His headaches, once daily, faded. His hands, always cold and numb, began to warm. 4 years later, he's still alive, still strong, and swears by this routine as the reason. That point saved me from the inside, he says with a soft smile. But it isn't just about avoiding death, it's about preserving life. So many elderly individuals lose quality of life long before they pass. Their legs swell, their heart tires easily. They must sleep sitting up. They avoid walking outdoors for fear of overexertion. But circulation is life. It is what delivers oxygen to the brain, energy to the muscles, and clarity to the mind. Poor circulation starves the body in slow motion. But the kneeling pass point is like a natural pump, urging your internal rivers to move again, to flow, to cleanse, to nourish. And when you combine this simple action with other mindful habits, deep breathing, light stretching, warm herbal tea, you begin to create a protective routine that acts like armor around your aging body. This is the true art of elderhood, not just surviving, but living with presence and power. You become your own healer, your own protector, your own caretaker. The beauty of this technique is that it requires no fancy tools. You don't need a clinic, a specialist, or expensive supplements. You need only your hands and your breath. Each night, as you press gently into your wrist, you reclaim ownership of your health. You say to the stroke that almost happened, "Not tonight." You whisper to your arteries, "Keep flowing." You assure your heart, "You are safe, you are held, you are heard." This act becomes even more important for those living alone, elderly individuals without caregivers, without regular checkups. The truth is harsh. A significant number of strokes occur at night while sleeping, and by the time someone notices, the damage is irreversible. But the body is not helpless. It is always trying to heal itself. All it needs is a little help, a gentle nudge in the right place at the right time. And that's exactly what the Kneeling Pass Point offers. And let's not forget the emotional component. When you engage in this nightly massage, you are also creating a sacred space, a moment of silence, of gratitude, of checking in. Many elderly people experience chronic stress from isolation, financial worry, or the burden of declining independence. Stress increases blood pressure and weakens the immune system. But just 3 minutes of focused touch, paired with slow breathing, can drop cortisol levels by up to 25%, studies say. That's not just relaxation, it's therapy. It's transformation. This is why more and more elder wellness centers across Asia and now parts of Europe here, including acupressure training in their senior health programs, not to replace doctors, but to empower elders, to give them back some of the control aging often strips away. When seniors realize that their body still has power, that their touch still heals, they stand taller, breathe deeper, and face each day with newfound confidence. Imagine a world where strokes are rare, where elders walk without fear, where high blood pressure is balanced by habits, not pills. It's not a fantasy, it's a choice. And it begins with a decision tonight, before sleep, to rub that point, not as superstition, not out of desperation, but with the deep, quiet belief that life still flows within you, and it always will, as long as you remember to help it move. What's truly astonishing, and yet so often forgotten in this age of high-tech medicine, is that the most powerful healing tools are not locked away in hospitals, nor are they buried in bottles of pills. Sometimes they are simply your own hands, especially when guided with calm awareness and quiet intent. For elderly individuals battling daily with the fatigue of age, the stiffness of joints, and the unpredictability of the heart, this truth is nothing short of revolutionary. Because there's something almost mystical yet deeply physiological about what happens when you combine conscious touch with the natural warmth of your palm, especially when it is applied to a vital energy point like the Kneeling Pass Point. When an elder rubs their own wrist, when they apply the warmth of their palm to that sensitive valley nestled between two tendons, they are not just pressing flesh to flesh. They are sending signals, both biological and emotional. And the body listens. It listens deeply. The warmth of the hand acts like a gentle sunrise on tired blood vessels, loosening tension, expanding constricted veins, reminding hardened capillaries that they are not abandoned. This warmth is not just thermal, it's energetic. It's ancestral. It's the same warmth that once soothed crying babies, that once cradled tired lovers, that once wiped tears from young cheeks. Now it is turned inward, and it is sacred. Science tells us that the palms of the hands contain thousands of nerve endings, each capable of transmitting signals deep into the brain. When your warm hand meets the Kneeling Pass Point, the body registers safety. And in that safety, the nervous system exhales. The vagus nerve, that elusive thread connecting the brain to the heart and gut, responds immediately. It slows the heart rate. It softens the breath. It tells the adrenal glands to stop pumping stress hormones. It tells the mind, it's okay, we're home, we can rest now. But this warmth does more than calm. It revives. It brings with it a flow of life that has been stuck, congested, or forgotten. Many elderly people live with what traditional Chinese medicine calls cold stagnation, a condition not just of the body, but of the spirit. Cold feet that never warm, cold hands that feel foreign, a cold belly that resists digestion. But this coldness is not merely a lack of heat, it is a lack of presence, of touch, of circulating attention. And what better antidote to coldness than the humble warmth of your own hand? One woman, 79-year-old Mrs. Thon from Hanoi, began the nightly habit of warming her hands by rubbing them together vigorously for 1 minute before touching her kneeling past point. Her wrists had grown weak, her hands stiff from arthritis, and her heart often raced at night. But something changed when she introduced intentional warmth to the ritual. "It felt like light entered my blood," she said. "My hands, my chest, even my thoughts softened." And after months of practice, her circulation improved. Her hands stopped trembling, and she no longer needed sleep aids. Her family began noticing that she smiled more. She laughed again. The simple act of combining pressure with warmth had reawakened something ancient inside her, something all of us carry, but so few remember: the power of compassionate self-touch. Because that's the deeper truth. This is not just a mechanical act. When an elder warms their palm and presses it against their wrist, they are not just trying to activate a nerve. They are saying, perhaps for the first time in decades, "I am here for myself." They are offering themselves a kind of care they have so often given to others, but so rarely received. They are no longer waiting for a doctor, a caregiver, or a family member to rescue them. They are becoming their own medicine. And the effects ripple outward. That warmth doesn't just stay in the wrist. It travels through the arm, softens the shoulders, flows into the chest, and even settles in the abdomen. Seniors who adopt this nightly ritual often report improved digestion, less stiffness in the neck, and a surprising reduction in joint pain, especially in the fingers and elbows. Why? Because warmth is movement, and movement is life. By sending warmth and pressure through a powerful acupoint, you're stirring the rivers of Keith's body's internal energy and encouraging every system, from the lungs to the kidneys, to come back online. Let's not overlook the emotional implications either. Many elderly people suffer in silence from a deep sense of abandonment. They feel invisible, useless, disconnected from a world that races forward without them. But this nightly ritual becomes a statement of dignity. It is a daily ceremony in which they remind their body, "You are not forgotten. You are still sacred. You are still alive." Over time, this transforms how they carry themselves. They sit taller. Their gaze steadies. They begin to trust their body again. In a study conducted in Japan, elderly participants who engaged in daily palm pressure routines targeting kneeling pass and other vital points reported significant improvement, not only in sleep and circulation, but also in self-esteem and emotional resilience. These were people who had stopped believing in healing, who had resigned themselves to the decay of age, and yet, through the warmth of their own hands, they began to return, not just physically, but spiritually. Some even begin to pair this practice with prayer or with whispered affirmations. As they rub the point, they say things like, "Thank you, heart, for beating all these years," or "I forgive myself for aging," or even, "I am still here," and the body responds. The cells listen, they vibrate with gratitude, because the body doesn't need perfection, it needs presence. And here lies perhaps the most profound lesson of all. Healing does not require strength. It does not require youth, or speed, or force. It requires gentleness, intention, and warmth, 3 things every elder still possesses in abundance. In fact, it is often elder shaving lived through war, loss, love, disappointment who carry the deepest stores of compassion. They just need to turn it inward. So tonight, as the house quiets, as the air cools, and as sleep begins to knock on the edge of your mind, take your hands and rub them together. Feel the fire you can create. Then place that warmth upon your kneeling pass point. Press, breathe, stay there a while. Let it spread, let it soften, let it speak to the parts of you that have been waiting to be touched again. You are not broken. You are not alone. You are a vessel of warmth, and your own hands hold the key to bringing your life force back into motion. When we trace our fingers along the wisdom passed down from generations past, we find that long before hospitals, long before pharmaceuticals, and long before the rise of modern diagnostics, there existed a profound understanding of the human body and spirit, a roadmap of healing, inscribed not in textbooks, but in touch, breath, and stillness. Elders of ancient times did not fear aging as a curse to be fought. They viewed it as an initiation, a sacred time to return inward, to refine the soul, and to master the art of gentle living. And among their most revered practices, one stands quietly at the center of longevity rituals across Asia, nurturing the body's vital energy through the acupoints, especially the kneeling pass point. Known as Ne Guan in Chinese medicine, this humble spot was seen as a gateway between heart and mind, heaven and earth, spirit and flesh. It wasn't simply pressed to treat symptoms. It was revered. In ancient Taoist texts, it is described as the keeper of inner stillness and the protector of breath. Monks in the mountains of Wudang would press this point before meditation, believing it calmed not only their heartbeats but also their egos, their worldly cravings, their restlessness. For them, this acupoint wasn't just about blood, it was about presence. And that legacy, though nearly forgotten, is being reborn in the quiet bedrooms of elderly men and women rediscovering this ancient practice in the twilight of their lives. There is something undeniably poetic about this. That after years of chasing, achieving, building, and surviving, a person can return to a simple nightly ritual and find in it not only physical relief but also spiritual realignment. That a fingertips pressure can bring the same tranquility once sought through temples, prayers, and long pilgrimages. For many older individuals who have lost their sense of purpose, who wake feeling useless or unseen, this point becomes a pathway home to themselves, to their body, to the sacred rhythm of life itself. Consider the case of Mr. Kazuo, a 91-year-old Japanese craftsman from Kyoto. After outliving his wife, 3 siblings, and most of his peers, he confessed to feeling like a ghost who breathes. But every night, he sat on his tatami mat, lit a stick of incense, and rubbed his kneeling pass point while whispering to his heart, "Thank you for beating one more day." Over time, his insomnia waned, his blood pressure leveled, but more importantly, his soul softened. "This point," he said, "is the bridge that brought me back from the edge of forgetting why I'm still alive." And perhaps that is the most sacred gift this point offers, not just the ability to prolong life, but to deepen life, to make each breath more meaningful, to make each night an act of devotion, not just survival. Traditional Chinese medicine believes that the Ne Guan point holds the power to regulate not only physical qi, but also shen, the spirit housed in the heart. This is why its stimulation brings clarity to the mind, peace to the emotions, and stability to the body. In elders, where fire once burned with youthful passion but now flickers with quieter wisdom, the Ne Guan becomes a vessel of refinement, a torch that still glows even as the body slows. In rural Vietnam, there are still grandmothers who sit under moonlight, rubbing this point as they hum old lullabies. In remote Thai villages, monks teach their elderly disciples to begin and end each day by holding their wrist in silence. In the Himalayas, long-living yogis describe this point as the center of the soul's breath. It is not just folklore, it is cultural memory, a thread connecting generations in the shared language of gentle self-care. And now here you are, reading or listening to this with your hands, your breath, your aging body. Perhaps you too feel the aches of time, the heaviness of loss, the dryness of joints, the forgetfulness of names. But none of that disqualifies you from healing. In fact, it qualifies you more than anyone. Because it is in this season of life, when the noise has quieted and the roles have faded, that we are finally able to hear the whispers of the body, the invitations to slow down, to tune in, to touch with reverence. What if you saw each rub of the kneeling pass point not just as a health hack, but as a bow to your own existence? What if, in that small nightly gesture, you were honoring every cell that has carried you this far, every beat of your loyal heart, every breath you fought for? What if, in pressing that point, you were reclaiming something no one can take: your legacy, your spirit, you're still beating, still burning life. And what if just imagine your children and grandchildren, seeing you do this, began to imitate, not just out of curiosity, but out of admiration? What if they, too, began to press their kneeling pass point each night, not for sleep or circulation, but because they saw you doing it with such devotion, and they felt the ancestral thread pulling them closer to something true? So now, as your hands rest gently upon your wrist, and you feel the warmth of your own touch rise into your bloodstream, know that this is more than a habitat, is a return to the wisdom your ancestors once lived by. The kneeling pass point is not only a tool for health, but a quiet declaration that even in old age, you are powerful, you are whole, and you are worthy of care. This nightly ritual is your inheritance, your medicine, your message to the world that healing doesn't stop with agate, begins anew with intention. If this video spoke to your heart, if it reminded you of the strength still flowing within you, we invite you to type "I still carry light" in the comments. Share your thoughts, connect with others, and most of all, don't forget to pass this simple truth on to someone you love. Because sometimes, the most powerful way to revive your life is through the warmth of your own fingertips.